return to a biblically based culture.
This is the American Family Association at AFA Today.
And we welcome you to New York. Kevin McCullough, so glad to be with you. My phone line is always open at 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. We welcome you to the Tuesday edition of the AFA Today broadcast, the original broadcast of the AFR radio network, and we are so honored to hold this post down every day, where what we try to do is give you a little snapshot of what's going on in the world around you, and then give you some resources to respond to it or to take action, etc. And we're very blessed. We have an entire website that is continually working on the latest news and information each day, called onenewsnow.com. That is just cranking this stuff out. The reporters working around the clock on that. So the opportunity for us to come and to spend some time with you discussing, giving you some analysis, giving you some perspective on what it is that we want to bring into the discussion on this particular day is always a great privilege, at least from my perspective. I value your time, and the fact that you set aside this time to be with us each day is really something that just humbles me greatly. But there's times when we have to kind of cut through all the clutter. I mean, our goal always, every day, is to obliterate confusion, replace it with truth, and to pursue clarity together. That's really what we wish to do all the time. There are just some times when we just really have to stop, and some people are not going to have an appreciation for this today. I understand that. But friends, we got to speak some hard truth. And the hard truth of what is going on right now, and I haven't, if you follow regular talk radio, there's been talking points flying back and forth from left to right and right to left for the last month, every single day, about the issue of the Obamacare rollout and how bad it's been and everything else. And I'm not trying to get into the middle of that tit for tat, tic tac no game that's going on over there. That's not my interest. But I am here to sound a warning for you today that is exceedingly important, especially if you happen to be someone who is an entrepreneur or a self-employed person. Now, I'm very curious to know a couple of things. If you fall into this category, first of all, have you received a letter since the Obamacare site was launched? Have you received a letter notifying you of your insurance being canceled if you are a self-buying insurer? What that means is, like yours truly, I run a small company. So I don't offer insurance benefits to everybody that works for me. We buy them for ourselves. I give my employees some stipends that they can use then to apply towards their health care coverage, but they go and they buy their own policies, and they pick what they want. And so I have a young girl who works for us. She's a phone screener. She works on the weekends with some of the shows that we do. She is single. She doesn't live at home anymore, but she is in and out of her mom and dad's house a lot. She doesn't have a lot of things going on in her life outside of that. She's not. I don't think she's like sexually active or anything like that. She's just a young adult woman living her life, going about life as she does. She works, she goes home, she spends time with her family, et cetera, et cetera. She was able to go out and get a policy for herself a couple of years ago, and get what she needed based on what her criteria was. I have another fellow that works for me who receives our health care stipend, and he was single when he started being paid the stipend, and he's recently gotten married, and so he had applied for one policy and that changed, and now he buys a second policy. But they buy their own policies. I do as well in the McCullough household. After a number of years of being covered by employers in past situations, I said, "Hey, let's see what we can do for ourselves." And so every month there is a significant price that is paid to cover the ankle biters, the lovely bride, and myself in terms of the insurance that we need for our health care. Millions of people, just like the three I just described to you, myself, my employees, millions of people have started getting letters from their health insurance companies that they buy these independent plans from. And these millions of people, at least 1 million so far, have received this letter, are being told that that insurance policy is being dropped and that they are no longer eligible for coverage with their company. Now, what created this? I thought Obamacare was supposed to increase the availability of insurance to people. In fact, almost everything that the president has told us about Obamacare has turned out to be 100% opposite of what was true. He said that these types of plans would be allowed to be grandfathered in. So if you're already buying insurance that you can afford and that is in your household's budget and you can deal with, that you're going to be able to keep that. That was already something that he had said would be standard. You were going to be able to keep a plan that you liked. Well, we first started seeing that wasn't true in the corporate side because companies that were buying insurance plans for their people were suddenly seeing hugely inflated prices. And when they were told that they couldn't even get the same coverages of the stuff that they had in the past without paying exceedingly more than they had been paying in this already marked up market, many companies stopped getting those insurance policies, and they said, okay, you guys can just go on the Obamacare exchanges because that's going to be available and our company can't afford to give you health insurance anymore. So immediately in the corporate commercial business world, where people were depending on employers to get their health insurance coverage, immediately, numbers of months ago, people started losing insurance left and right. Well, now you're talking about people that weren't in that world, but that were buying it on a family-by-family or an individual-by-individual basis. And now those policies are being canceled by the company, and some of the companies are saying, we can't even provide the policies that Obamacare now requires. Now, what has happened here, friend? Let me try to break this down for some of you. If you know the game of football at all, you understand how the game works. Okay, there's two teams on the field, and the whole game consists of trying to score. Right, so you're advancing the ball towards your goal line. The purpose of getting the ball across the plane of the end zone that gives you 6 points. That's how you score. That's the best score you can make in football is 6 points. It's a touchdown. You can get that ball across if you have control of it and you get across the plane of the end zone. That's what that's how you score. So what you have here is you have two teams. You have the public sector and the private sector. And up until now, the law treated both teams as kind of the same. So if you were on Medicare or if you were in private insurance, there were things that they had to go through, but all you had to do was get the ball across the end zone and you would score. What's happened with Obamacare, and I'm not trying to be overly partisan about this, I'm trying to give you a simple but accurate illustration. Suddenly, one of the teams also was now refereeing the game. And when they refereed the game, not only did they start making the calls that would give them the advantage, what they also started doing is changing the way the teams could score. So when on February 25th of 2010, the president says, look, if you've got one of these plans that you're buying or that your company already has and you like it, you're going to be able to keep it, period. And he said that again and again and again and again. Almost immediately as he was saying that in 2010, they began to know that that wasn't going to be true. We now know that there's an IRS document that demonstrates that they were advised, has his signature on it, that they were not, that millions of people were going to actually lose their coverage. Because if Obamacare said you must have minimum requirements, and the policies that are covering these folks that they're buying for themselves don't cover that, it's mostly just catastrophic policies and that sort of thing, then at the end of the day, those policies are now considered illegal insurance policies, non-valid insurance policies. So what the referee did is they came in, they're already wearing the uniform of one of the teams, but now they said to the team that is not the one that they're part of, they're saying to the other teams, the other health insurance companies, look, here's what you have to do. In order for you to score a touchdown, you used to just have to get the ball over any part of the plane of the end zone. Now we've built this little tunnel, and for you to score a touchdown, and it's only about maybe a tenth the size of the end zone, you now have to get the ball through that tunnel into the end zone. The teams are saying we can't compete with that. The other side gets to just break the plane with the ball. Now we have to go through this little tiny doorway. That's all we can get through in order to score. Well, what's going to happen? The same thing that happens every time a bully comes and starts changing the rules in the playground games. People are going to quit. And the health insurance companies are quitting. And now, instead of people getting insurance, people that have had insurance and were promised that they were going to get to keep it, period, are now losing it. I'm wondering if this has happened to you. Already, more than 1 million people have received those letters. If you received one of those letters, I would like to know. 888-589-8840. I'd like to know, number one, what the letter said. Number two, how you're going to respond to what this does to you in life. What are you intending to do about it? And anybody that got a letter, I'd like to know those two things. What the letter said from the insurance company that decided to drop your policy, and then also what are your options, and how will you go about responding to that now? Now, for everyone else that's listening, I would just love to know your reaction to what you're watching unfold. Within the last 24 hours, proof has come forward that the president knew 3 years ago. The president knew 3 years ago that tens of millions of people would lose their health insurance policies because of the way the rules were being constructed. And do you remember the audacity that one Nancy Pelosi had to say, well, we have to pass this bill so that we can find out what's in it? Do you think, and this is a very valid and honest question, do you think that if the American people had known that this was in the health care bill, that they would have ever voted people back into office and said, yeah, let's pass this thing? Do you think the American people would have put up with this if we had known this in advance? If we had known that the rules were going to change, that competitive enterprises were going to be put out of business, and that people that were struggling just to get their little basic health care insurance policies were going to be canceled? Do you think the American people would have gone for it? 888-589-8840. But if you've had your insurance canceled, I really want to talk. You're going to get to go to the front of the line today. 888-589-8840. 888-589-8840. Real quickly, let's take a call before we go to our first break. Steve is in Texas. Steve, thanks for your patience. You're on with Kevin McCullough on AFA Today. Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing well. What's your thought?
I haven't heard anybody address the question, are people of the Muslim faith exempt? And I heard that people of the Quaker faith were also exempt. And how are they going to handle that?
Well, Quakers, I think Quakers don't believe, I think they have a theological disposition against insurance anyway. And so them being exempt doesn't mean that they're going to get a better priced plan. They just don't use insurance to begin with. So I guess they just pay cash or whatever they do normally. I don't know about what Muslims are going to be, how they're going to be treated under this. I don't know Muslim doctrine well enough to know if they have a religious objection to insurance or not. I would be careful not to join conspiracy theories and just repeat things that someone says. And the word is not Muslim. A mausoleum is where you bury people. They are Muslims, and we want to be people of accuracy at AFA Today. So let's make sure we do that. 888-589-8840. But I want to know from you, what is your response to the fact that the administration knew 3 years ago that tens of millions were going to be losing their policies, their paid-for policies that they pay for out of their pocket? Coming right back on AFA Today. Stay with us.